Perfect. Thank you very much, Charlotte. Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next in our series of Summer Talks. It's actually the first in a sort of a mini series that we're going to do over the next few weeks. We're joined by Warren Smith of the Warren Smith Ski Academy this evening and over the next few weeks as well to discuss all things that we can do to prepare for the ski season when it comes around. We were just talking about how nice the weather is. Yes, it might well be 30 degrees and sunny, but people are beginning to book their ski holidays. So now is really the time that people are beginning to pay attention to all things skiing. A couple of quick admin points before we go any further. The very lovely lady would have noted to you all that this call is being recorded. I think we're going to be uploading it onto the YouTube for members to view moving forward. Is that right, Charlotte? You're nodding at me. That's excellent. And then this is designed as a Q&A session as well. We're going to do a little bit of talking, but if you do have any questions about absolutely anything that Warren does about ski instructing, about learning about skiing, learning to ski, gear, technique, fitness, everything that we run through this evening, then please do drop that into the chat and we'll pick that up as we go along. Like I said, we're joined this evening by Warren. Warren is a ski instructor who I'm sure many of you are familiar with. He's based in Verbier and runs the Warren Smith Ski Academy out there and has done for, 35 years, you said now?
Yeah, I've been teaching for 35, but the academy's been around since the 1999. So it's 25 years of the academy, 30 years in Verbier.
Fantastic. So the long and the short of it is that you know what you're talking about. And
I'm still learning, actually, every day. Still finding new things out, which is important. So.
But yeah, fantastically experienced instructor. We're really, really pleased to have him with us this evening. So Warren runs his ski academy in Verbier. He obviously teaches people how to ski over short courses, long courses, master's courses, instructor's courses, on-piste, off-piste, and all things in between. And we're really, really lucky to have Warren with us this evening. And as well, Warren helps us out at some of our summer sessions as well. So you will have seen our Ski with Shemi days in Manchester and in Hemel, where we also have Ski with Warren days as well. And we've actually got one of those next week in Manchester at Chill Factory. There are a few spaces remaining on that one. So Charlotte, if you'd be so kind to drop the link to that in the chat. And then if you are interested in either throughout this evening or off the back of this evening skiing with Warren there, then away we go. Warren, to kick us off, the magic ingredient with your skiing and your ski instructing is a kind of a combination of different things, but it comes down to sort of biomechanics and fitness and gear, sort of things all things that you can look at away from the mountain, which is hence why we're kind of having this conversation in July. So do you want to dive into that a little bit more to kick us off and just talk a little bit about why for you and your instructing, why biomechanics is so important to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I spoke to you, Henry, over the last couple of days. And we wrote back a format, really interestingly, without any influence from us, and gave us the format of different words for what the Ski Technique Lab is. It's physiology, it's equipment, and it's technique, kind of in that order. So there's a person also on this call tonight called Rob Stanford. Rob, you can wave, I guess. Rob sort of helped with the foundation of the academy way back in the day, over 20 years ago. What we've always found is, we're limited as coaches by an individual's equipment. More importantly, the individual's physiological, functional movement pattern that matches the movements we need to make when we ski. And that's kind of what we stuck to, actually, for a long time. It's now sort of known as the Ski Technique Lab, that sort of sits alongside the academy, but also branches out a little bit, to working with the ski club. We learn a lot from Henry, which is great for us. So we, equipment-wise, we'll refer to Henry, we'll refer to ski shops, but we definitely sort of put the technique part, very important, but it doesn't work without the other two ingredients. That's a real key thing.
Perfect. And can you run us through some of the major biomechanics that you might look at for a skier? Let's say because you have done things at snow shows in the past before. So let's say you're bringing that Ski Technique Lab off the slopes to somewhere. What would be some of the major biomechanic elements that you'd look at as you sort of start assessing a skier, let's say?
Yes. So what we do generally is we try and match what the movement patterns are for skiing. So in layman's terms, it is actually quite basic. If you just mimic every sort of movement you might see watching a person, ski, if you video them and you pause it. And we mimic those movement patterns. It comes down to 6 fundamentals. And on those fundamentals, we've always found quite big differences when you test a person's physiology with their left and right. And when you go into a further conversation with someone, it always comes out of the conversation like, yes, I've got a weaker turn direction. I feel it when I'm off piste or I'm on steeps or if I'm pushed, in more difficult scenarios, this turn direction always shows itself. And at the other end of the spectrum, if someone's a beginner or a person lacking confidence, you sort of see it at the Stowe Centre in Hemel. I was there the other week watching beginners, and every beginner has got that sort of snowplow that comfortably goes one way, and when they go the other way, the body's trying to make the skis turn, and you can tell that there is a difference between left and right. And I think in our coaching sessions, we, not that we got frustrated, we just wanted to sort of get better at our job, but to get better at our job, we needed other people in the industry. So, for example, you, Henry, you're an equipment expert. People will often, they still do turn up on ski courses with not the exact correct equipment. A lot of people do. But, we wish everyone spoke to you, for example. In terms of the physiology, I've spent the last couple of days at different gyms in London going around with PTs trying to, make a pathway for people to be able to book into a program, get onto something, but to work on their skiing, not in October, but at least 3 months before they go away. And then there's a bigger conversation. If you're ever going to get a pair of boots fitted, think about the prehab for the foot. Don't just go into a blind boot fit when you walked out of the office or wherever your day has been. Think about actually exercising it. So we know that our job is limited. So if someone pays, let's say the best instructor in the world is based over there or in Vale or wherever they might be, and they spend $1,000 for a full day, if the lesson's limited by someone's inability to rotate one way comfortably and the other way not, we can't as coaches fix that inside of a week. We have to look at the bigger picture, which is why it's quite good talking now in July and knowing that things like the ski show are coming up and having more of these webinars, because if you get to a person early, it's not a rush to the line. It's a really comfortable, easy process, to get that element of their physiology right and correct.
Yeah, perfect. And I remember we ran through the leg steering test, I think it was, together, and found out that I'm weaker going to my left than I am to my right.
Yeah.
And straight away that translated through into how I ski, and I know straight away that I'm weaker on my left-hand turns than I am to the right-hand turn. So straight away there was that symmetry that pulled up between the two when we discussed it further. So that's a really specific one, the leg steering ridge. Can you talk us through a little bit more about that specific test? And I won't ask you to demonstrate right now, but just
no, not at all. But I can do it, actually.
It's useful to kind of understand.
Yeah, no. Today I was at a gym in London, sort of nervous actually. I was going to test these PTs that are fit and they're all going to be perfect. And lo and behold, every PT that I was testing on, and they're very strong and they're very flexible, but these are very ski specific tests and ranges of movement. So the big thing about the range test, as you were saying, Henry, that we test the inner rotation ability of the outside leg, and let's call it the downhill leg when you're turning. And if that leg doesn't function, what we know is going to happen regardless is that the hip will rotate when they hit their rotation limit of the leg. And as quite a lot of people will know, when you rotate your hips when you ski, you flatten the outside ski and you dump your body weight on the inside ski. So it's really interesting. So today's results, I'm not, I don't need to mention what gym it was, but with this really fit group of people, looking ski specific at them, most people score between 30 degrees one direction and 65, 70. And they've now got a week to go away and work on it. But they'll work on it very well because that's their domain, that they're PTs. The actual exercises when Rob's showing people during the tour or at the ski show or whatever we're doing, they are really at-home exercises. This is stuff you can do now. It's like, it's really accessible. It's not sort of premium service or you've got to buy this to get that. It's there, it's out there. And the steering thing for us is a massive part of where our job is limited. So, I know when we test someone before we go off piste in Verbier, if you go to an itinerary run or something like that, we always go to a steep slope on the piste, give them a quick test. and you'll sort of always see the turn where they really comfortable and they're sort of carving, and the turn where there's a anticipation. It could be intrinsic, it could be just plain physical, but it pauses them getting the natural start to a turn. And if that happens, usually the turn ends up skidding out. You guys watching, you might have that feeling. I mean, I know I've had it where the outside ski judders, when you're on a steep pitch and you're trying to control it. So that's what we sort of, we found it today with professionals. So if you're not sort of actively making these functional movement patterns work for skiing on almost like a daily basis, it's not going to work when you clip your skis on your first week of your ski holiday, or if you go to the snow center or a chill for a ski. It's actually quite important to get this stuff done off of snow. But you're right, Henry, that test we do at the ski show, there's quite often like a 30-minute queue on the stand. They're coming in, they're doing the test. Everyone walks away with the same results. And it kind of gets frustrating because, like, why is this? But there is something in everyone where we all favor one side of the body. We might stand in a bar, have a drink. We'll never stand evenly on 2 feet. We'll always slouch to one leg. I spoke to many people in that sort of space, osteos, chiros. They don't think that people are absolutely symmetrical in the hips, which is fair enough at our age, or my age, sorry. I know I'm not, and I know when I watch videos, me and Rob do a lot of filming together up on the Zermatt Glacier, and I cringe when I watch the videos because I can sort of see, oh my God, that turn to the left is like, I can see the ski lift, I can see I'm not making the same angle, and then I go away and do it. But it's kind of having the determination to just have a thing in your phone which just buzzes, right? Okay, I've got 2 minutes. I'm going to go and do my ski, functional movement patterns. The crazy thing for us is it's so basic that you kind of don't do it, and that's half the catch of this. So it's quite nice to bring it out in a chat like this. Hopefully, this early in the season. I'm already talking about the winter season. Sorry, it feels like it's winter coming up already.
No, it'll be here before you know it, don't worry.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's not something that we want to think about just a few days before we go skiing or the morning of. What's the sort of the time frame for that one for someone to do these tests and start building that up to really improve that mobility and those biomechanics before hitting the slopes?
So in terms of the awareness, that can happen straight away. But the guys I've been chatting to, like, pretty high-end physios that know their stuff, depending on someone's physiology, anywhere between 3 weeks and 3 months. Me, I'd probably take longer. I've had injuries. I've got a bit of, scar tissue around certain joints. But when I'm sort of trying to get better, I demoed every movement pattern today, and no word of a lie, every single movement pattern I demoed, I felt tighter on one side just because I hadn't done it, very much for the last 2 months, I guess. I mean, I skied with Rob back on the Cervinia Glacier in June. Skiing felt okay, but I definitely felt I had a weaker turn. And I know that a lot of the people we speak to and ski with, that weaker turn is a bigger story. It definitely shows itself on steeps. And if you're in powder, for example, you're always going to make that error on the weaker turn direction. In terms of the test itself, we do the test. I mean, I kind of can show you. If you I mean, you'll see it on our website. But what we were doing today, we were holding people's hips in this position. Not sure I can show you the floor. Maybe I can. I'll leave it down enough. But
are they boxer shorts, or are they swim shorts? Can't tell.
Yeah, I know. I got the Mickey taken out of me in the gym today. It's the only pair of shorts I had in London. So you step your feet around, and what you got to be careful of is that you don't just twist your foot. You have to really try and use the upper part of your leg to make a rotation. But right now, if I put my hands on my hips, I'm sort of facing the camera. When I come back to the middle, I go the other way. This is my easier way. There feels no restriction that side, but I'm roughly getting to 70 degrees each direction. Today, for the guys that hadn't done it before and haven't tested it was genuinely like 35 degrees one way and 60, 70 the other. Some people were less. There was a PT girl. It looked like she was a yoga, and she does teach Pilates. She got to 25, and I'm like, well, what is this that we're talking about? Is it being fit in general? Is it being great at yoga? Is it doing Pilates and going to this stuff? But when you scratch the surface, it's actually very, very ski specific movement patterns. And what we often say on our talks is there's not a lot of things you do in life where you're required to make an inner rotation of your outside leg. So, you know, if you we make a joke around our talks to break the ice with people, but we always say if you're walking down, you know, Waitrose or whatever, and you want to go and get a loaf of bread, you're not going to inwardly rotate your outside leg and walk across the supermarket. You probably get thrown out. But the thing is, it's so true, because we can't think of other sports that require inner rotation of the outside leg. You might clip out of your cleat on a bike. It's usually just with your foot, and it's a split second of 4 hours of cycling or whatever you do. So when you put it like that, it's impossible to think that someone can go and mimic a movement pattern on a Sunday morning, clipping in first day of the season. You're just going to get upper body rotation, and you're going to feel, you might be able to almost hide it by having stable arms, but the reality of it is the hip will rotate in one of those directions.
Okay, brilliant. That's really good to know, and that's a really good introduction to the sort of the in-depth biomechanics stuff, and really good point there about it being so kind of skiing specific. Let's take a little bit of a step back and think about more generally about fitness and things like that. Obviously, you need to be fit to ski, or sort of you fall back on your technique, and if the technique fails, then you fall back on your fitness. So just again, like I said, taking a really big step back, what can we do now to get that fitness going now, or sort of after the summer, before the winter starts, to get that fitness up alongside this biomechanic work, so that when it comes around to going on one of your courses, we're super set and ready to go?
I mean, I've always, I mean, I know Rob is, you know, like a semi-professional cyclist. I've always used cycling as a way to get fit for skiing, because to me, with the leg flexion extension and, you know, what you put through the pedal, it's a great way of balancing and using physiology, and it really does match skiing. We often talk a lot about, you know, point number 6 on the Ski Technique Lab is core. And actually, core is, you know, it's probably the overriding factor amongst all of the points that we do, because without that stable, working, activated, all the other parts can't really work in the same functional way. So core work, obviously massively ski related. I'd highly recommend yoga, because, you know, people are generally tight in the hips. I know I am. And if I do a few weeks of yoga, I feel completely different when I ski. Cardio, you know, cardio fitness, I generally cycle because it helps my knee. I've got a weak knee through knee injuries. So rather than running, I choose cycling, because the knee is sort of floating and then building up strength. Like I was saying earlier, like joking about it, like it's quite fun getting on the line bikes around London, as dangerous as it is. I almost didn't make the talk because I was trying to figure out the app and it didn't really quite work very well. But the that to me is, personally, other people will always have their own ways of doing it. You know, Shemi's got some brilliant routines for fitness. She's got some great stuff that I watch and I learn from. Me personally, it's definitely cycling, but it's cycling and core work. That's the two.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've had good experiences with rock climbing and bouldering in the past, just for the core work. I don't like going to the gym. That doesn't do it for me. So I've had good experiences with rock climbing and bouldering in the past, alongside the running and the cycling. And just to kind of, are there things that we shouldn't do to get fit for skiing? Obviously, people might choose cycling over running because the less impact, but fundamentally, running is still a good way to get that cardio up. So, is there anything that we need to maybe avoid, or sort of shift a focus away from at all?
I mean, if you're in the gym and you're doing weights, it's great. It's brilliant. I can't think of anything fitness wise that would hinder your skiing, actually. I mean, you know, I probably do need to go in the gym and do a bit more bench pressing and all the other stuff to get back in shape. But the reality of it is, I don't think anything would hinder it. Rob, have you got any ideas on that? Do you think anything could hinder?
Not really. I mean, if anything, it's more, a lot of it is fit for what, isn't it? So, you know, I know, you know, Warren just mentioned about cycling, for example. So we're like super keen cyclists, as I'm sure quite a lot of the people sort of sat around here are. But I know I find myself, like, from a fitness point of view and from a strength point of view, from an endurance point of view, it's fantastic. But if anything, something that does compromise a little bit is actually that sort of rotary movement from the hip, because it's such a straight line based activity. You start to become almost like overly strong in like a fore and aft kind of direction in the way that the hips work. So I have to find that after every cycling session, I have to kind of like compensate it with a little bit of rotation exercises, just to make sure I'm keeping my hand in a little bit. Interestingly, I've just put a link in the description, guys, just in the chat, to one of the videos that appears on our website that's got some quite useful mobilizing exercises. just in regards to the hip, the thing that we were just talking about previously with the hip rotation. Sorry, the leg rotation within the hip. He might. He's muted, so he can't actually say whether he minds or not. But I've just been having a little chat with Dean, actually, just on the side there. Dean skied with us back in 2009 in Japan, so we were just having a little sort of private catch up. But he was just telling me how he's coming back from a double hip replacement.
Wow.
And I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
it's actually a really interesting topic in the sense that it might not be the only person, again, sort of sat around the table who's had a hip replacement. But in my experience, from a coaching point of view, something that's actually very interesting. One of the most fluid and clean skiers from a mobility point of view I ever worked with is someone that's actually had a double hip replacement. So it was always quite a nice thing to be able to say. Yeah, so if in doubt, guys, just go for the double hip replacement, and that'll fix all your problems.
But that's brilliant what Rob said, and actually we've got a story about that because when we were coaching years ago on a TV show called The Jump, which some of you guys may not have seen, may not have liked, but we were chosen to do the coaching on it, and we did this thing, and we coached Linford Christie, an Olympic, super fit guy and all the rest of it. And because of his training, kind of along the lines of what Rob just said, he was sort of 80 degrees one way, 10 degrees the other. And it was to do with how he was, really strictly trained to keep his gait specific for the push off the block and all the rest of it. Just literally couldn't rotate, couldn't move. Never had any prep, for the jump ski show. And didn't really work for him. But yeah, I'd back up what Rob says there. It's great to think about the practicality of what you're looking for and balance it out afterwards.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know you mentioned Shemi did some exercises. They are still on the Ski Club website, I believe, if you're looking for those. And she brings. I know some of you here will have skied with Shemi, and she brings all of her energy into those videos. So if you're looking for something of quite high intensity, high energy, looking to get the blood flowing, then absolutely her exercise videos are really good ones on that one as well. And just as we kind of wrap up the first half or the first part of this talk, we've talked a little bit about the leg steering range and the core stability. Is there anything else, perhaps the most numerous, I hesitate to call them faults because that sort of implies blame perhaps, but some of the biggest faults that you notice turning up at your ski camps, and what's the kind of the biomechanics behind that, and so the one thing perhaps that people can take away from this talk and go away and work on over this summer and moving forwards.
Well, this kind of moves into Henry's space a little bit. I think over the 25 years we've run the academy, if there's 50 people that rock up at the start of a week, they all do the ski off. Very rarely do you get a person that's absolutely in balance, as in like in center balance, dominating their ski boot. That has changed, by the way. The last 5 years, boots have become way more pliable and so much better. Like kit just seems to keep improving each year. But we never see a skier, sitting forwards, and obviously that's because of the way your joints are based. But generally speaking, if there is an issue, sometimes it's with the relationship with the boot. So I think we all expect, and this is me and probably Rob the same, actually, when we get a boot, we just expect it's going to work, and actually don't ever expect a boot is just going to work. It's not like wearing a pair of running shoes or even basketball boots. It's a plastic mold around your ankle, and it's very different to day-to-day life. And I was chatting with Henry earlier on today about some of the weird stuff we sometimes do, where you might go in the garden, like, do an online coaching session with a client over the summer, and then you run them through a drill of jumping in your ski boots. And do they stay in balance? Are they landing repeatedly on the back of the boot? Does the boot need alteration? One of the things I know from Henry's perspective and a lot of boot fitters in the UK, that there's always tweaks, there's always things you can do once you've learn that you need to get muscle memory in that specific joint. But for me and Rob, one of our biggest things, especially when a skier is tested or speed increases or they're on a new ski, sometimes body weight can go back. It can just slip back. You overflex at the knee. You wanted to flex at the ankle, but it didn't happen when your thought process kicked in. And that could be something as simply solved as putting a boot on at home, watching a TV series and getting 20 minutes on each leg, and actually flex into your boot. The problem is it all sounds really geeky and like, oh my God, you're obsessed. But actually, It works. It really works. So, if we fixed someone once on a ski course that had an appalling Monday night video analysis session. They were really sporty. Their profile, when you looked at them, was like, you should be way better than this at skiing. They just weren't used to the plastic around the ankle, and it was a brand new boot. They went back to the hotel, they stuck the boot on, and then they obsessively, in a sporting way, flexed the boot. They flexed the hell out of it for like an hour and a half. They turned up the next day. It was a completely different skier, as in, it wasn't me and Rob that changed that. It was the control over the equipment, the better understanding of the equipment, which is why we kind of place equipment above, in the line of order. Equipment's more important than your technical ski coaching, because you can survive just with that anyway, but we can get a better job done as well as coaches if the equipment is perfect. That's the key, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good point, I think. And I certainly spent a good chunk of January clomping around my flat, just kind of getting used to a new pair of ski boots and fiddling them out and making sure that they work and things like that. And in the end, I just swapped out the insoles to make them work properly.
You tweaked it yourself. You got the boot.
Yeah. Just okay. It was the boots were just played around with a bit, but replaced the insoles, just freed up a bit more volume in there and created something that's a bit more comfortable, a bit more right for me.
What are you in? What's your?
So they were touring boots, Scott Cosmos Tours 130s.
Oh, awesome. They're super lightweight as well, right?
Yeah, really lightweight. Maybe perhaps a little bit too lightweight for me. And actually, that brings me on to something that Michael's just commented on the chat, which I think is really, really important. So thank you, Michael, for commenting that one. So Michael's just said, I found out last year that the stiffness, i.e. 120, 130 on a ski boot varies from brand to brand. Yeah. And that's absolutely spot on. It's one of the only bits of kind of ski boots that aren't standardized or regulated across the industry. And I found that, yes, you can get 120 in one brand, and it's the fit of it will have a play as well. Whether it's a cuff or a cabriolet boot, the arrangement of the buckles will all play a factor in how stiff it comes up. As a rule of thumb, somewhere like Salomon and Head are stiffer. So a Salomon 120, Head 120 is going to be stiffer than a Nordica, for example. But yeah, it does very much depend. And that's something you can actually find out when you're trying them on. And the last thing I'd say on that is boots are softer when they're warmer.
Yeah.
This comes right back to what you were saying, Warren, about if you're the first time you try your boots on in the shop, and the first time you try them on is out in the cold, there's going to be a significant difference in how they feel. So that's why it's useful to wear them around the house, because you get used to them when they're soft and can sort of ease your way back into them stiffening up as you go out in the cold. So yeah, thank you, Michael, for pointing that out. That's a very sort of quick byway round. Anything you want to add to that, Warren?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point, actually, because we're very lucky in the UK. We have, with yourself, Henry, from an equipment sort of point of view, a bit like we work as Technique with the ski club. The ski club has access and information to better reach great boot fitters, and we always try and encourage people to get the fit done in the UK. Do it here. Don't rush and resort. I mean, if you have to, you have to. But generally speaking, if you're in the UK, a great time to start is early. Start September. The shop might tell you to go away and work on some prehab foot exercises. But what you were just saying there, Michael, is a great point. You can also take your boot into most shops and get an MOT. Just get the boot looked at, and it can be that angles needed adjusting. You just heard what Henry said there. A tweak of the footbed made a massive amount of difference, and that's. I mean, it's the same for me and Rob. When we're skiing, I never like it, but I changed to a new pair of Darbellos. You have to do photographs. So you wear the boot that's a year ahead. When you do it, everything slightly changes. And it never used to bother me as much, but now I've got injuries, and now I'm sort of getting older. I'm a bit more fussy, so I'm probably a bit more, specific about it. And those points about the footbed and the adjustments are crucial to getting the fit exactly right. But you can change your boots flex, you can play around with it, and a professional boot fitter can make a big difference on that.
Absolutely. And I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, there's so much you can do with the boot. there's so much you can do with the boot, and there's so much you can do with the liners as well. You can replace them with a third-party liner. So it's a case of once you've found the right shell for you, then it'll fit. You'll work it out. The one last thing I'll say on that one is a boot fitter is for life, not just for Christmas. So yeah, you can, and it's just exactly what you were saying there, Warren. You can keep going back to them and keep getting things sorted out and keep tweaking them and keep improving them. And as they begin to perhaps fade, what often fades first in a boot is the liner. The plastic will still be good. Or maybe the sole plates will wear away a bit. That's all replaceable. So keep going back to your boot fitter, keep kind of upgrading it, improving it, retuning it as you go to make sure it's the right boot for you. And Dean has just dropped a message in. He's a bit stuck in Frankfurt for boots. If you are looking for a retail shop here in the UK, what I'm just about to drop into the chat is a list of retailers from SIGB, Snow Sports Industries of Great Britain, which is the retail industry trade body. So if you are looking for a ski shop in the UK, want to find your closest one, then you can use that list there. We're about half an hour into this one. A few of you are commenting on the chat. That's really, really good to see. Is there anyone that has any questions for Warren or Rob at this moment? Like I said, either drop it in the chat. Do we have the hand up function? I don't think we do. But yeah, if you do have any questions, then just drop them in the chat and we can pick up on them as we go.
I have a question.
Hello, Peter. Yes, fire away.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm getting some new boots this year, and I'm wondering which place to go. You've just put that thing in, but it's usually Snow and Rock where I live. And they're pretty good, aren't they? Or are they?
Yeah, Snow and Rock are great. I mean, they're one of the retailers we trust. I mean, we try and have relationships within shop brands. So if someone says to us, Snow and Rock, I want to go to Snow and Rock here, we would kind of suggest or place a person within Snow and Rock we'd like to liaise with them, because we look at boot fitters like ski coaches, that they in theory, they kind of have a more important job than us. So we would make the direct link with a name of a person in the store to go and see, and sort of do a handover. Quite often, not only that, Peter, we'd strongly recommend taking a video of your own skiing into the boot fitter to give the boot fitter much more. I mean, you have to do it.
I don't have my personal photographer like you are.
Just get a stunt double for the day.
Which is a bigger thing for you.
we try to make really personal links, and I think that's really important. I mean, even Rob will know this. I changed my liners in March. And it was quite a bewildering experience because I had these other liners that were foamed about 5 years ago. I didn't want to take them out of the boot. They were rotten. I could not take my boots off in a place, without causing a slight disturbance. But I changed my liners, got a zip fit inside my Dalbello boot, and it changed my skiing. But if Rob heard me for 2 or 3 days going back to the shop we're in Verbier, I was complaining, and then the cork moved and things, and everything just fell into place. And I've had some of the best skiing, even at Hemel the other week. I was like, God, I haven't skied like this before. But I think
I was getting three phone calls a day. Just
updates
on Warren's boots. It's getting pretty tedious after a while.
Yeah.
So I just need to change my boot liners, and then I'll improve.
But what boots are you in, Peter? What are you currently riding?
Oh, I hire them.
Okay.
And I used to have my own skis and boots, and I thought, because the equipment changes so regularly and so much better now.
Yeah,
the
really
boots is. I hire are the most comfortable I've ever had.
So what boot were you in, and when did you own your last boot? What was the?
It was a Technica. It was a Technica, and it was about I'd say about 8 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even since 8 years, the plastics have become a lot more manageable, and a lot more sort of torsionally strong, so that you don't have to be blocked by the flex of the boot. But yeah, probably a good time to try and get back on.
Yeah, but yeah, the ones I had, they're great, and they've got this new thing which it has a wire going through the front of the boot, and you sort of tighten the wire up, which tightens the whole boot.
BOA, yes.
Yeah, the BOA function has become really, really popular now across all brands, in fact.
Oh,
yeah. But again, it's funny, isn't it? It's what you it's what you feel you're kind of used to in many ways. I've still yet to do it. I'm still just I'm very much a classic.
Well, that's it. When I saw
boot,
these initially, I thought, oh, I don't like the look of those at all, but they were so comfortable and so easy to get in and out of. I thought, well, I'll do it.
Have you, Peter, have you tried anything on yet to start the process?
Sorry, say that again.
Have you tried any boots on in any stores at the moment to start the
No,
process?
I haven't. No, that's why I really want to get some this year, because I'm going fairly regularly now, and I feel as though I should get my
Where
own
in the
boots.
country are you based?
Southampton, Winchester.
Oh, you've got a great Stone Rock store down there. I think we've been down that one there. It's great.
Yeah, the one in Portsmouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We did a talk there a few years ago. It was it's a great store, really good.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. That's where I plan to go anyway.
And
so I should start going in September. But the thing is, they won't have any boots in, will they?
What you might find is they do have boots, and they might have last year's color, and there may not be that many changes to it. And why not have a look? You might get lucky. You could also pre-order kit that they order that sometimes sells out because it's very popular. And actually, when you start chatting to them and they look at what's coming in, I mean, there is some, there's some great boots out there. I mean, I really like the K2 boot personally. It's like a 4-clip. It's got the wall, everything that goes with it, and it's got the bower. But I mean, God, every boot these days has reached a level now of like excellence where it wasn't. Because me and Rob would be always back in the day complaining about boots being too stiff for people.
Yes.
They've overcome it. They've really, they've just got a great system working, and boots. They're not just for one job anymore. They're adaptable for so many things. But the same sort of thing we were just talking about. Get the ankle functioning. Look at some exercises like metatarsal things. There's stuff you can do to check your flex pattern. I think on the
other thing as well. You're talking about all these exercises to do. I go to the gym fairly regularly. Are there any sort of exercises that I can do in a gym using their equipment that would really assist me skiing?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to do
about the biomechanics exercises that we touched on at the very, very beginning, those really skiing specific ones. Just those.
And where are they? Who has those?
In fact, Rob will probably send you a link, but we don't lock the content because we keep it open, and we do a lot of we publish this in the Ski Club of Great Britain magazine, Ski and Board,
right?
And we try to keep it open as much as we can. So a lot of the content that you could first test with your PT or just test on your own, go to the gym or at home. You can find it on the website under the Technique Lab, and the Technique Lab kind of has the content of what we do at the London Snow Show.
Right.
And you can get started on it. So, for example, if you came to the show in October, but blind, never done the test before, it's great. It works. You come in, you get your tests, you get your scores, and you get a nice few weeks to go and work on stuff. If you started on those tests now, when you came to the ski show, you'd sort of be on phase 2 of your training. And therefore, when you came and got retested at the show, you'd walk off with a more advanced version of the exercises to develop, much more strength and conditioning in terms of how that progresses. Plus, you'd be in a really good state for a boot fit.
Oh, at the show.
Yeah. So if you got going on the exercises before the show, came in, your ankle, your foot, your calf, your Achilles, everything would be very functional and much better to be placed inside a ski boot. So you'd be fitter your foot would be fitter for a ski boot fit.
Right. Okay.
Just again, guys, just keep referring back to the chat. So Peter, just for everybody, there's the overview link to the Ski Technique Lab, which is the full page on our website, and within that, there's lots of different sort of subcategories. But I'll just keep firing individual YouTube links as well onto when the topic comes up. I'll just fire it into. There's a few ankle flex exercises just on that previous link there. But there's also some good chats. Henry, I'm probably overtaking what you went to say. I was just asking. I was going to answer the ski question that might have popped up.
Yeah, I was just going to thank you very much for all that input, Peter. The one thing I would just add to that is how can you tell a sort of a good boot fitter sort of as soon as you walk in the door? Well, my trick has always been when they measure you for your ski boots, do they measure your feet or do they just ask you your shoe size? When I was fitting ski boots, we did refits as well, and we had a few sort of a steady trickle of people coming in with refits. And I would always ask that question, did they measure your feet or did they simply ask your shoe size and convert. And I found that if they said, well, if they measured, then they're in the right size ski boot. And I mean, every single time someone answered and said they measured, they converted my shoe size, they were at least one size too big, if not two.
Yeah.
So that's a really kind of what I found to be a sort of a good way of kind of getting a good idea of whether the it's worth, ski fits can be long process, 2-3 hours. That's a really quick way of kind of assessing, yep, this is something I should stick out and see through to the very end there.
Another red flag, if I could just jump in on that as well, Henry, another red flag with that is that, particularly with ski boots, if you're ever put into a position where you can choose what you want, that's a big red flag. Generally, with you should never be able to walk into a shop and say, "I want those boots there." Like that, you will find that a good boot fitter will sit you down, ask you lots of questions, go through a lot of these sort of range examinations and screen tests, and they'll pick the boot for you. It won't be the other way around. It's not quite the same way of as you normally go into a shop. It's different with skis. You can
oh,
get
well,
a little bit more choice.
That's one place I'm going wrong. That's for certain.
Did anyone say that there was a ski question, like in terms of length of ski?
Yeah, so it's just going to come. Yeah, have you got that, Henry?
Yeah, I have. It's Michael again. Thank you very much for dropping this one in. So a little bit of background. I'm an ex-competitive freestyle skier and now a masters racer. I like to go fast, steeps, bumps, off-piste, etc. I don't have one ski area that I ski at, so for traveling quite a lot, I assume want to reduce my quiver down into just 1 or 2 pairs of skis. So looking at a sort of a free ride ski and a touring ski. And the question is, what are the measurement ranges that one should look at for that variety?
I mean, you can ask Rob this. I mean, I'm biased, so I tend to ski on.
I think we both are, aren't we, to be fair?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm the wrong person. I mean, Henry's the most qualified person here to answer that. I personally love a Völkl Mantra 108, and I kind of do a lot on it, and it just serves me really well. I'm very used to it. Probably done 15 years on the ski. I think when you're coming up with that question, you're looking obviously for a very sturdy all-rounder that veers towards off-piste, that has the width at the foot, but obviously the shovel and everything else that goes with it. But statistically, I mean, Rob, you might be better answering that.
Yeah, I'm just I'll try and post some links at the same time. But yeah, just with the similarly, it's a bit of a difficult one to ask us in that we've skied on Völkl skis for over 20 years. So as far as like talking about other brands, it's a bit like buying a car. Every ski has its equivalent in another make. So they're all kind of similar in that respect. But yeah, I think to kind of echo what Warren just said, then I think one thing, Michael, it depends on I can actually see you in the sea of people. It depends on your height, depends on your weight. Obviously, we've got your ski ability. If you're a strong ex-racer, you like to go fast, so you put in a lot of force and a lot of energy through the ski. So you don't want something that's ultimately too soft. You want to be able to have something that actually gives you a little bit of feedback and a little bit of sort of responsiveness, even when the sort of terrain gets a little bit more kind of choppy, should we say. So if you were looking at specific skis, the range of the Mantra is amazing. Okay, it's a brilliant. It's almost what you would class as it's an off-piste, on-piste ski. A lot of people talk about the Mantra 98 or the Mantra 97 as it's almost like an off-piste GS ski in many ways, and that's what I actually use as pretty much my daily ski. I very rarely ski on my piste skis, to be honest, unless I'm doing ski instructor training, which is very specific. The rest of the time, I'm actually skiing on my Mantras, the M7 Mantra. And it's phenomenal, super strong, like laterally really, really stiff, and you can just ski it in absolutely anything. And then funnily enough, go on, sorry, Buzz.
No, I was just going to say, I'm just reading the, sorry, I had to put my glasses on because I can't see anything these days. 6 foot, okay, so realistically, you could get sold a carbon ski and it could be super lightweight for going uphill if you're looking at the touring sort of aspect of things. But by the sounds of your athletic ability and your history, you'd kind of almost compromise that to get a stronger ski. You'd walk uphill with a bit more weight. So your downhill journey is going to be matching how fast you're shredding. I don't know, it'd be difficult without seeing you ski, but it sounds very much like you need something to be there for your kind of already high level performance, I think. That's what I would say. I know a lot of the skis we ski on, we have a titanium top sheet on top of the ski. So when we do push it a little bit quicker, the ski's quite stable for us.
Yeah,
I've just added the link to our gear guide that we did last year. So that was the most recent review of what we've done on the Mantra M7. So you can have a watch of that. That's got us quite a lot of information just about the ski on there.
Yep, I would 100% agree with the M7 recommendation. It's been one of the best skis, if not the best skis on the market for the last 4 or 5 years. It is phenomenal.
It does everything, doesn't it?
You have to be exactly. It does everything. There's enough metal in it, and there's this funky 4D radius side cut that you can slalom on that if you really, really wanted to. At the same time, it's 96 underfoot, stiff as all hell, and can take you off piste with a really nice stiff tail to support you round in the turn as well. I adore the M7 Mantra. That I think is exactly what you need, Michael. I think you mentioned, and there's a very interesting point, and if I may, the return to a one quiver ski. Sort of, yes, you're seeing this sort of carving out around a sort of a 96, 7, 8, maybe up to even 104. There's some 104 mil skis that are skiing beautifully on piste now. And you're seeing them really, really coming into their own. But certainly around the 96, 7, 8 mil mark, there are some brilliant all-round skis in that range. Dynastar M Pro 100, beautiful on piste. Blizzard Russell and 9 is 96 underfoot. Again, just phenomenal all-round ski. We've recommended, I think, all of those skis at the Ski Club over the past few years for exactly what you're looking for, Michael. So I think you'll enjoy any of those.
Just to further link as well, I've just put a link to the Vocal Blaze as well. Just on Henry's point, just in regards to the 104, Vocal Blaze 104 is a phenomenal ski. And just if you were, Michael, looking for that touring option as well, you wouldn't actually want to put a touring setup through something like a Mantra. It's almost a bit too stiff. There's a bit, as Henry was saying, there's a bit too much metal in it to be sticking a lightweight touring binding on, which is why they brought in the Blaze range. So that's a little bit more of a lighter weight, but still really sort of responsive and strong, in the terrain that you need it. So I would check those out as well.
And a little bit softer in the tail, a little bit more forgiving than the Mantra, which I adore the 94 version of that one. Thank you, Rob. That's very, very useful. I'm just aware that time is ticking along a little bit. So what I will do is, obviously, this is the first in a series of talks that we're doing with Warren over the course of this summer, really. Warren, could you tell us a little bit more about kind of what we're going to dive into over the next few weeks, all the good stuff that you're going to share with us?
Absolutely.
Get ready for winter.
Yeah, well, this is kind of guided by myself, Henry, and Catherine at the Ski Club, and it was kind of listening to people, actually, in all our domains of what we do. But we're going to look closer next on the next talk about carving. And that doesn't just mean carving on piste. That means being able to carve in powder. That's the only way you can really, get through powder. You're not going to get through it with a skidded turn. So getting the technique right for carving involves a lot of elements that we kind of touched on tonight. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to look at the importance of having the ability to ride on an edge. Could be on steeps, could be anywhere. It could be in moguls even sometimes in certain formations. We're also going to look at fitness and injury, returning from injury during the talks. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about steeps, a little bit of a chat and another talk about powder as well. And we're going to give a little bit more insight actually into what the ski show, which is actually very exciting. I went to the show on Tuesday, like the hall. We're back at where it was great. And it's quite a big thing for all of us involved in the ski industry. So what our offering is there, the upstairs of the show, we'll be able to explain it more the further down the line these talks get, but the upstairs of the ski show is it's equipment, it's technique, it's wellness, it's fitness, and it's also mountain safety, and it's just a really lovely environment. It's basically an educational center, so you'll get a lot from the show from that perspective, and it separates it also from the other aspects of the tourism side much more. That'll be downstairs. So that's roughly what it's looking like, Henry.
Fabulous. That's really good to know. And if we want to learn a little bit more about, we mentioned the biomechanics side of things is available on the website, along with a few other tips and bits and bobs. What is that web address? I know we've dropped it. Rob dropped it in the chat earlier, but just let us know where we find out all about Warren Smith Ski Academy on socials, on the website.
So if you're not seeing it written, it's just Warren Smith hyphen minus whatever skiacademy.com. When you go to the website, up on the top of the website, in the bar, you'll see Technique Lab, and quite a lot of what me, Henry, and Robert spoke about tonight. Technique Lab will encompass all 6 testing elements, with actually some exercises to go and walk away with. You may even find during these talks you actually change your score results, which would be great to hear if there's any feedback like that. Rob tracks that quite often when we're on tour in October, and we see huge changes, from the feedback that we get. So yeah, that's.
I've just added the link again there. Sorry to interrupt. Links
so
there again,
that's
guys.
Something that could be quite interesting, that we you guys have a look at it, and also, I went to the end of season bash that Ski Club did at Hemel, and it was brilliant. Like there was so many enthusiastic people, because I sometimes think I'm a bit weird or geek out a bit about skiing and overthink it or whatever. And actually talking to so many like-minded people, I'm just like, okay, I'm normal. I do like obsessing about it. I do like talking about the in-between bits. So if you've got any questions off the back of what Henry and I and Rob have spoke about tonight, don't feel like you can't reach out and speak to us. Quite often when we do these days up at the indoor snow dome, so we did one a couple of weeks ago at Hemel and videoed everybody, like huge changes in the 2 hours. But we kept an open channel of chat, because actually, if we're enthusiastic enough that we'll sit there and chat skiing, you may as well take advantage of it, because we love it. And I know Henry's the same. So feel free to just keep reaching out, keep asking questions. We'll be able to either write back through the chat on this or write back via message or whatever. So yeah, we're open to keep the continuation of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just apologies from my side, just in regards to all the links, guys. I'm just going to send one more, because it just I was looking for it just while we were talking about it. But again, if you really do want to geek out on boot fitting in particular, as one of the big topics was in today's chat, just that link, that last link, YouTube link there, is with Graham Pugh, who runs Rivington Alpine, and we shot like a half an hour interview with Graham, basically, and he just said, when you get someone on their subject, Graham's brilliant, because he's just so passionate about fitting
that's right.
people's
We
boots.
did that a couple of years ago.
So I've just posted the link on there. So yeah,
great.
if you did want to go into a little bit more detail with someone who really, really, really knows their stuff, I think he fit. Whose boots did he fit? It was I think he wasn't it Dave Riding. Yeah. He does Dave Riding's boots for him, doesn't he? Yeah, but obviously he looks after loads of people.
Carl Fogarty's as well, or someone like that.
But he's a really nice guy.
So one thing I would say: never be afraid to walk in a ski shop and expect to have to buy a pair of boots. Go in the shop, start chatting to the staff. Go in the shop and take your old boots in. Can you give me an opinion? Of course, they want to sell boots, but quite often, especially in the professional shops, you'll find that they'll have a proper look at stuff, and sometimes they can make modifications for you, just like Henry was talking about. So, look at it from both sides. Whether it's an investment in new or updating or tweaking an old, it can still work.
Fabulous. Thank you for that, Warren. Yep. So loads of links in the chat there. I've just dropped one in, which is the Ski with Warren Day that we're hosting at Chill Factory in Manchester next week. There are, like I said, a couple of places available on that one. So if you are interested in coming along and actually seeing firsthand what the biomechanics look like, what the Warren Smith technique looks like, then you can do that one. The website for is www.warrensmith-skiacademy.com, where you can find all of that good stuff for you to go into in your own time. The last editions of the Ski Club magazine have columns from Warren. Warren writes for us every month in the magazine, so you can find all that information there. And then if you are looking for sort of social links and things like that, it's at Warren Smith Ski Academy, all one word, on Instagram and all over the place. We will leave it there for this evening. If there are any more questions, then feel free to fire them off. If not, you can reach out to Warren separately. You can reach out to the Ski Club as well. You can find us at email information@skiclub.co.uk, and also over the phone on 0208 410 2009. We are just finishing off all of our ski test videos and reviews and things like that, so they'll be dropping on the website come September. And of course, this is the first in a mini series of talks from Warren as part of our wider summer series. So stay tuned to all of our social medias and everything. And was that a question just popping through?
Yeah, sorry. There's a load of links in the chat there. Hello. Been very useful information. Will it still be available when the meeting ends? Can you get back into this chat, or because I'm slightly concerned that if I close the meeting, I'll lose all of the chat with all the links in there.
That's a very good
You can,
question.
yeah, if you go on the 3 little dots up on the right-hand side, Nick, and then just click those 3 little dots.
Yeah.
There's an option to save chat.
Yep, lovely.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Great.
Glad you're here, Rob. We'll be at the Zoom malarkey for 5 years.
I'm going to do the same. I was like, that's brilliant. Love it.
Brilliant. Yeah. And there we go. So thank you all very much for giving us your time this evening. It's great to have you with us. Thank you to Warren and Rob for joining us. If you do have any more questions, then please do fire us an email, drop us a call, find us on social media. We've been the Ski Club of Great Britain. Warren Smith of the Warren Smith Ski Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, for Charlotte, for organising it all. So it's lovely to interact and meet people online anyway. So thank you.
Fabulous. And there we go. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Zana. Goodbye for now.